Golf fans, welcome to another episode of Podcast and Regulation. I'm your host, RP. Today is Wednesday, September 10th. We got 3 weeks to go back and kind of track everything for what we've done up to this point, as well as take a look at the Kroger Queen City coming up this week, tomorrow exactly, and tonight starts the beginning of the BMW PGA Championship. A little different than normal, and a lot of big names from a couple of the side tours, and we have DP World Tour and some guys from the PGA and LIV. So quite a few names to go through. I don't know how much analysis I'm going to go through that part of it, but overall we will get some bets in there. I may omit the Pro Core, and you'll probably find that more on either of the streams. So as always, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Pod and Regulation, or the Facebook fan page, Podcast and Regulation. And then as for the Queen City, we'll take a dive into that, look at some of the stats. That we will definitely go through faves and fades, and then we'll go from there. See who we end up betting on, and maybe I can't find it, and I've gone through several sites already. It's just another week of max top 10 finishes, so try to figure out and navigate those waters, see where that puts us. But as always, don't take my advice. Heck, you can even fade me. Do what you want. Hopefully you're making money either way. I'm not a professional gambler. This is just something I love doing, and since I'm tracking it, I might as well let you guys in on whatever nuggets or secrets or stats that are catching my eye and making me lean towards one player or another. So we are going to start this week with the recap of the CPKC Open as well as the Betfred Masters. So let's jump into that. So our top 10 selections for this tournament were Mao Saigo, Ryo Takeda, Andrea Lee. The only one that hit was Mao Saigo. She was an $8.50 bet. It was plus 310, so great odds there. Somebody who's playing that well, and somebody, even if it is kind of risky, they're only allowing us to pick the top 10s, I always feel pretty comfortable with her. If I could, and we could find that on a regular basis with top 20s, she would be it, along with Ryo Takeda. But Ryo did finish 15th, 5 under. Not a great one of those days. There wasn't a bad day specifically for her. She just didn't go as low as all the other contestants in any of those 4 days. She just kind of kept with the field. So not bad, but again, that kind of shows what I just mentioned. Those two, Mao Saigo, Ryo Takeda, if I could take them in the top 20 all day, I would. It's just a matter of finding it on any given like Wednesday night. With some of the majors, they'll definitely do that and push your ability to take players further down the list, but on a week-to-week basis, it's just not available. And Andrea Lee, not too bad either. She performed well, T20, 4 under. But for Mao Saigo, it was a third place finish at 11 under, and it was a $34.85 payout there. And then the top fives that we took, Aki Iwai and Lottie Wode. Lottie Wode. I didn't think there would be a hangover for everything that she's gone through up to this point. She's played well, she's had a win, but that was a little bit of a disappointment, seeing she was only plus 240 to finish in the top 5. So obviously books were kind of on her, just like I was. Well, I'm not going to claim to be on, but how could you not recognize that trend and realize that maybe she just breaks through, she gets a win, and she continues to play well enough without feeling like that win was good enough to almost take your foot off the gas. And I'm not necessarily claiming that either, but I don't know, maybe it is tough after that first win, knowing that, one, you belong, you played well, you really did outplay all the other contestants. It didn't feel like in that contest anyone really lost it. She played well enough that she won it. So missed cut there, but the Aki Iwai pick, it was fantastic. It was a $19 bet, and it was a plus 525, so she finishes 10 under, and she got us a payout of $118.75. Then the other win for the week with the CPKC Open was the 72-hole match between Arya Jaitanargarn and Shizato Iwai. Shizato Iwai misses the cut, so that was a win outright because Arya Jaitanargarn finishes not great, 1 over, but she finishes T52 and that payout was $28.64 off a $15 bet. The other losses for that one, there was one more win. Let's get through the loss first. It was a 3-ball, 72-hole match. Nelly Korda versus Hannah Green versus Mouse Saigo. I took Nelly Korda, and that was a... what? Sorry, I'm a little confused here with my good handwriting. I just don't know what happened. Oh, it was... sorry. Yes, so Nelly Korda, Hannah Green, Mouse Saigo. I had taken Nelly Korda, who I'm writing here and reading it. She was T10 at 6 under. Great score, great combination. Hannah Green misses the cut completely, but it was Mouse Saigo who finishes third. So that nipped us right there. Two good players. Hannah Green, I like her, but man, some up and down tournaments have me staying away from her. I'm not going to say a lot of the time, but I just choose to pick my poison as to what kind of course she can run on and what kind of courses to just stay clear of her. But I thought Nelly would have this one, so not too far off, but 6 under versus 11 under, and it's a big difference. So that was a miss. And then the win was Bailey Tardy versus Heiran Ryu versus Nana Quartz. And it was Heiran Ryu for a $12.25 bet at minus 140. She did win. The other two, Bailey Tardy misses the cut. She was 9 over after 2 days. And then Nana Quartz, 3 over and a missed cut for those first 2 days. So no competition there. That was a $21 payout. So pretty solid. I'll take that to start the week from 3 weeks ago with these two. And then on to the Betfred Masters. Top 40, 1 hit, 1 miss. Johannes Veerman, I don't know how, but every time I pick him, maybe I should just stop. Maybe he knows when I pick him. Let me down again. It was a $9 bet. He finishes 57th, so just outside there, but it was 2 over. So it tells you having just an even day would have been right in the mix, if not easily winning, had he performed a little better for us, but that's whatever. A good, nice, healthy bet that I put was Andy Sullivan finishing in the top 40. That was a win. He was minus 150, but it was a $24.50 bet. He finishes 5th overall at 4 under, so look at that, 4 under. You're in 5th place. Tough conditions. I watched some of it. Again, that was it was across the pond, so you can only catch some highlights, or if I go to bed late enough, you start to see the beginning of the tournaments for each day, and I don't know. The weather played some part. The conditions certainly did too, but I really couldn't put a finger on exactly how poorly some of them played, especially some of the bigger names. But that's not for me to figure out. I'm just here to bet, and the Andy Sullivan bet paid out $40.83. The next two were misses. Top 30 picks of Brandon Robinson Thompson. He finishes 94th, missed the cut. Brant Snedeker, that one killed me because I honestly thought he'd play well here. So it was only a $6 bet, so maybe I was kind of hedging there. Not sure what to make or what to think of him over there, but I thought that would be a fairly easy one. Not at all. He was 50th, and he was even par. Missed the next two for the top 20. I even missed the top 5s, but let's do the top 20s first. Laurie Cantor, plus 145. I don't know what went wrong there. I didn't get to see too many of his highlights, but he finished 64th, so he made the cut, but looks like maybe he was trying to make a move and finishes 5 over overall. And then Christopher Wrighton. Love the game. Again, I'm going to keep betting on him just because his off isn't missed cuts necessarily. He's missed a few, but overall he's paid us out pretty well when betting within decent channels and good value for him. But finishes 46th at 3 over. The top 5 are what killed me. Marco Penge and Matthew Fitzpatrick were up there for majority of the tournament. Matthew Fitzpatrick shoots a 74 on the last day, and that one I did watch quite a bit of. I don't know if he was pressing. I don't think he felt pressure much, but man, he was ending up in, unfortunately, some bad spots from not horrible shots. And that's golf, obviously, but still, to have it all happen and kind of culminate on the last day really sucked. Not just for him, but for anyone like me and anyone who took him as well, because he finishes 6th at 10 under. So just out, literally the one spot outside. Same thing for Marco Pinch. Finished the 6th with 10 under, so same score. And he shot a 72 in the last round. So devastating last rounds for bettors, and obviously even more so for them because they go tumbling out of the top 5 where they had been for the first 3 days. So just disappointing there. But overall, not a bad week. We go 5-11, pushes the record to 58 and 157. On the table of this week was $174.75. Total payout was $244.07, so it turns out we won $69.32. Bankroll now sitting at $1,063.10. All right, and the next week was the FM Championship and the Omega Masters. A little bit of a bloodbath, but we did get some half-decent payout. It just wasn't quite enough to overcome the ones we did bet larger units on. So for the FM Championship, again, top 10s, Mao Saigo. She finishes T45. Not a great tournament at all. Half decent showing. I did get to watch some of this, but I don't know exactly why she was so far behind. She was obviously under par. She was 4 under, but everyone else just kind of passed her, raced by. Megan Kang, what should have been a nice little, I wouldn't call it homecoming, but certainly home course, or at least one of them within the area. A reason why not only I pick them, but a lot of people who bet on LPGA were in support of throwing cash on her as well. She had a good tournament for the first 2 days. I think she may have even cracked the top 12 or top 10. I don't think she cracked the top 10, but definitely within that 15 to 12 range, and just not sustainable, I guess. Kind of the same way I had just spoke about Mao Saigo. She just got, I'm not going to say lapped, but everyone did start to pass her up by 1 or 2 strokes, and that easily pushed her down the board. Finishes T24 at 9 under. And then Minjee Lee, thought way more out of this than I was expecting. She finishes T20 and 10 under. So not horrible performances, but again, puts me in that tough range of wanting to pick players into a top 20 category, but the best is top 10s that are available, and that's what I took. Those were the best horses I could think of and putting cash on, and just didn't work out. And then top 5 picks, one did hit. That was Gino Thidikul. I mean, just a fantastic year up until this point, and she continues to do it. She finishes second, solo second. It was an $11 bet at plus 250, so it was a nice payout of $38.50. And then Heiran Ryu, kind of in the same mix as the top 10 selections that I had. She finishes 8 under, just not an overwhelmingly great tournament. She finishes 8 under and solid, but nowhere near what we needed from her. And then 72-hole matchups, we had 2 of those. Shizato Iwai versus Se-Young Kim. $13.50 at minus 105, and Se-Young Kim comes in third, so that was an easy one. $26.36 payout, and then I missed the last one with Ailin Kim versus Ayaka Furue. Expecting a tie, thinking Ailin Kim would play a little better as well as Ayaka, kind of evening it out. So within 3 shots, but that was still a miss because the tie would have been plus 1,600, and it was a $7 bet. So I rarely bet plenty or large units on ties, but I just felt like both of them were in a similar spot. Maybe not so much game-wise, but just overall, where they start to finish kind of within that same range. And then we had the round 1 3-ball matchup, Austin Kim versus Minami Katsu versus Esther Henseleit. I don't know what happened there. Took Esther Henseleit, and obviously with an $18.50 bet, I felt pretty confident about it, but she misses the cut outright. And it wasn't that big of a, I'm not going to say upset, but it wasn't that large of a difference between picking any of the other two, between Austin Kim or Katsu, but Esther Henseleit was just a plus 130. So obviously not the dark horse, but I wouldn't have expected her to miss the cut there. And then I had 2 picks for the win outright. Arya Jahanagarn, that was a miss, as well as Aki Iwai. And then moving to the Omega Masters, this was pretty rough. Had 5 picks total, hit one of them, and it wasn't that big of a hit either. Took Marcel Sam. It was $21. He finished as 63rd. Eugenio Lopez Shakara plus 110 just to finish in the top 40, and he finishes 68th. Not a great tournament for him. This was a surprise, was the Nikolai Højgaard pick. I had $27 on him, and it was a minus 115 for the top 20. He misses the cut. That was pretty gross. I couldn't believe it when I was watching some of the live scores at night or waking up early in the morning. Like, he is nowhere near, and I just had to keep scrolling and finally found him down at the bottom. Was pretty disappointed. I did hit the Jordan Smith top 20 though. It was a $9 bet at plus 130, so the payout there was $20.70. And then Haotong Li, not bad for him either. Finishes 11 under, but it was only as good as 24th, so just outside. That would have been a nice one to add to it. So overall this week, it was a 3-12 record, pushing us to 61 and 169. Had $168 on the table. The payout was $85.56, so it means we lost $83.19. So bankroll is down again below 1,000. We're at $979.91. All right, and then for those of you who do follow me and check out the fan page or either the streams, we knew that I was not taking anything in the LPGA event going on in Houston. Too many variables, not really familiar with that field or how it was going to play out, so I just stayed away. I told you I was going to live bet, but I just couldn't get to my computer or get to a TV to figure out what way I wanted to go with any of that. So just stuck with the Amgen Irish Open. Went 3-3, so not too bad, but overall there was a little profit. We hit a top 40 out of the two. The Keita Nakajima pick was a miscut. Tom McKibben, though, a $22.75 bet. For a top 40, he was minus 160, so fairly easy money. He finishes 20th at 6 under, so it was a payout of $36.97. Then we go 1-1 again in the top 30s. Marco Pinge, 50th, even par, and then Angel Arroyo, $12.50 bet at plus 125. Payout was $28.13. Had a really good tournament. Finishes 5th, solo 5th at 13 under. And then again, 1-1. Lost the Shane Lowry bet in the top 20. Oh, excuse me. We hit the last two. Shane Lowry at $32 at minus 170. Finishes 15th at 7 under. And the payout for that was $50.82. And then Rory McIlroy, top 20. It was minus 334. So it was a fairly big bet. He outright wins it. But I shouldn't say outright. He won that in a playoff. Third hole, finally birdies. But it was a $40.50 bet, and that payout for Rory was $52.63. So didn't get great odds, but overall on the table we had $130.25. Payout was $168.55. So profit of $38.30. So it did get us and our bankroll back over the 1,000 mark, so $1,018.21. Really good tournament. I got to watch a lot of that, even though, again, it was one of those where it was time zone problems. But that was a really good tournament. A lot of clustering up at the top, a lot of fighting within the top 10, top 15, and no one really made a big move other than to get into that range, but just within it, Rory just looked really good. Finally, it honestly looked like a testing it out day one, looking okay, and was able to really be probably the most consistent one within that one. And I was a little surprised that he even went to the playoff for that. But there you are. He's the winner, and so are we. Worked out pretty well. That honestly was the larger bets that hurt more than anything. So starting off with this week's preview, it's going to be the Kroger Queen City. This is something that was recently started 3, maybe 4 years ago. And it was I believe it was at one particular venue, and they just moved it last year to TPC River Bend. So not a whole lot to it. It's going to be 6,876 yards. It is a 72. It's going to be comprised of 4 par 3s, 10 par 4s, and 4 par 5s. Got a little bit of room, some room to creep and push towards some corners, but there are going to be quite a bit of elevation changes here. along with some sloping fairways, which, as long as you're on the right side, from what I remember, it doesn't really track or pull your ball in any one particular spot, except for 3 or 4 holes where if you do hit the middle, not only do you have to hit the middle fairway, you have to end up on the high side, otherwise it does pull you into valley. Not a big penalty, but it could lead to a few of those semi-blind shots as you're trying to get up and trying to get home. But the bigger one are the larger bunkers of where some of the obstacles and some of those hazards are located. And then as for the greens, they say they're estimated to be about 11 or 12 this week, so nothing too crazy, nothing super fast. It's really strategic play off the key, and honestly, when you have a course that is giving you risk reward, trying to get long on some of these higher side fairways, again, when you land on the high side, you're in a fantastic position, position A solid, but position 1A is really what ends up on that low side of any of these fairways. So you got a couple drivable par 5s and then 2 par 5s where you can get home in 2 on the back 9. That's funny, I remember quite a bit of this last year. Watching it, I don't remember how much I covered or what I even won on this last year. But big things to watch, not even weather. Weather's going to be sunny, warm, and barely any wind and 0 rain. So girls should go low here. They should be scoring plenty in bunches. You're probably going to see, I'd say first round leader ends up in that 65, 66 range. And I don't think I'm being too generous. I think those will be pretty good scores for round 1. They'll let them kind of take this course on and then go from there and see how much of a pain they'd want to make it for the next 3 rounds. Big ones that you're going to be looking for here are going to be approach and greens and regulation. Greens and regulation finds its way onto every single tournament, but nevertheless, I'll always mention it because it's a big one. Whether it's scratch golfers playing, hack like me playing, but especially these players going, having that ability to hit from anywhere is big. And right now you're looking at people like Lydia Ko, Gino Thitical, Heiran Ryu, and Nelly Korda, all in top 5s for approach. For greens and regulation. And the other part of that is you can find, if you are not within the category that is playing as well as the mentioned players, off the tee and driving distance, you can take big advantages of. So people like Heiran Ryu, Yuka Sazo, although I don't know if I can back her here, as well as Korda. So you have Nelly in 2 spots where you're more likely than anything finding her making birdies left and right. I'm curious to see what dark horse comes out of this. I'll let you know in my faves and fades who I really like and who I feel are in almost that kind of due position in this point of the year where they've played well. I don't know if you want to say they've even broken through. They've just done a really good job, tournament after tournament, putting themselves in position for finishing in the top 20 with ease. So now it's just a matter of really cracking that 12, cracking that top 10. And yeah, it's going to be, I think this should be a fun one, especially with some of the low scoring that's going to go on. And then, in all honesty, I thought about starting to implement some of the correlating courses and players with half-decent stats at these mentioned ones. So you're looking at TPC Boston, where the FM Championship was just played. Very similar in design, along with the bent grass, so you get the combo. Not that it translates automatically, but you would imagine players who had good tournaments a couple weeks ago would perform somewhat similarly here, so we'll see if that plays out. And then Pinnacle Country Club, which is in Arkansas, another one, tree-lined, it's hilly, probably way more elevation there than here, but you will run into, again, some of those second shot blind approaches if you miss on the wrong side, but maybe not as punishing. And then another one that was very much mentioned, long, wide layouts for big hitters, similar to Carlton Woods where the Chevron was held. The difference with this is, yes, it is kind of open, but what comes more into play is long and accurate, right? Like, that's something that always comes into play. You'll still make greens in regulation from not being in the best spots, but if you do miss and you are no longer even in that lower slope fairway, now you're looking at trouble. So even if you are accurate, you still have to be accurate enough that you are dropping it in those positions that leave you a half decent view of trying to get home. So let's get into faves and fades with kind of where everyone's playing and some of the statistics that I've run down, some of the current form. Faves are going to be Andrea Lee, Lottie Wode, Nelly Korda, Aditya Shook, Ingrid Lindblad, and Jenny Bay. The last two I like a lot. I think this could be a spot for Ingrid Lindblad to probably crack the top 20. So if it's not going to be a top 20 bet, and I can't find it like I had mentioned already, it may be one of those picks for a first round matchup or even a 73 hole matchup. Same thing with Jenny Bay. I think Aditya Shook may make some noise here. This is a gut one, so you guys know how much I love gut picks. I hate them, but overall this might be the one for her. She just kind of lingers, and she has played well enough that you'll see her name consistently right in the middle, right in the heart of the lineup. And I don't know, it just seems like this time of the year, this is one of those players where I was kind of mentioning you're just due for one, right? So outside of that, jumping into fades, I can't do it anymore. I can't back her for this time of year. It's Ayaka Furue. Don't quite know what's going on. There's no injury. There's no nothing. Things just aren't matching up well for her as they had been for the last season and a half. So probably going to make the cut, probably going to do fairly well, but when you compare Ayaka to Ayaka's previous form, it's just not there. So I'm going to have to fade her. Shizato Iwai, I don't think she'll continue to fade. I think we'll see a lot of those hiccups looking like an EKG monitor, just the up and downs. I think this may be a down. I could be wrong, but definitely staying away for that reason. I can't figure it out. Maybe she does finish strong and finishes, top 20s the rest of the way, but as hot of a start as she had, it's just harder to bet on her now, seeing that it's just been really inconsistent. Then we have Somi Lee. This is a gut bet as well, or at least a gut fade. I don't know if this course is going to suit based on her last results. So if I spend more than 1 minute or two trying to figure out where someone is, I generally stay away, and that's kind of what ended up happening here and how she ended up on my fade list. Gabby Lopez, not going to touch that one either. I feel like the reason why she's on here is because it was in my head that maybe I would take her as a fave, but I almost talked myself out of it, and because I almost confused myself or kept her at a distance after a while and talked myself out of it, it's not even leave her off. I'm actually going to put her in the fade list. Then we have Miyu Yamashita. That one, I have no explanation other than the times that I've picked her, it's been 50-50. Probably better than Yaus Lauten or any of those on the DP World Tour and the Wenyi Dings. But I think I'm going to stay away from her here. And then Nasahara Oka. She's just not the same as she was last year, where she did make us money. And as much as I think she played fairly well last year here, I don't know if that'll be enough for me to warrant anything else other than, a top 40. So that's not available. I'm fading her. She has a half decent resume on here, but I can't do it. Just gonna stay away. So for the top 10 picks, I'm taking Andrea Lee. She's a plus 500. Aki Iwai plus 333. Lottie Wode at plus 160. And Aditya Shook to crack that top 10 at plus 1200. And then top 5 picks, we have Nelly Korda plus 333. Our favorite, Rio Takeda at plus 400. Lydia Ko, who I haven't bet much on this year, maybe once or twice in some sort of matchup. She's a plus 400. Can't ignore where she's been and how well she's played overall and where she's placed. So I just figure it's another good time to select her now. And then I'm taking two 3-ball bets. It's Nelly Korda versus Rose Zhang versus Lottie Wode. So Nelly in this first round, I think, should win this one. Rose Zhang, I don't know what to make of her. I think she's at the bottom versus these three, I think Lottie Wood is probably going to start off well and maintain, but at least for round one, I think Nelly takes this one. And then the other three ball matchup, Rio Takeda versus Heiran Ryu versus Hannah Green. I think Rio's taking it. It's plus 140. She always starts off solid. Like, you'll never see, I should say never, but anytime that I've noticed a trend for her in round one, Takeda is, -2, -3 in tough conditions. In easy conditions, she's -4, -5, but she's never in that 62 range for a day one. So I think this is a good spot where I know on day one she very well could take on and beat Heiran Ryu and Hannah Green, who she still gets put in some of these and definitely on the lower end. So I don't know when or how anyone would take that position unless you just want a little bit more of the odds. But at that point, I'd rather go with something else. So those are the bets for the LPGA. I haven't put or set an amount on any of these, so don't know the units, but those are 100% the ones that have made the bet sheet up until this point. Could be some live betting, but I highly doubt it. I think I'm just going to sit back and enjoy watching my bets as well as this tournament. And now when it comes to the BMW PGA Championship, I'm not going to go into detail for the course or any of the statistics here. The wild card, honestly, is the different leagues that are going to be here, and I don't know what to expect from it. So I'm literally just going to take a couple names from each one, and hopefully they pan out. Some of these names familiar. Actually, all of them should be fairly familiar. Top 40 picks, I'm taking Adrian Sadier, plus 125. Andy Sullivan, plus 125. Top 30 picks, we have two there with Angel Arroyo, plus 150. Jordan Smith, plus 145. So you're realizing, or you're probably recognizing, that there aren't a lot of big favorite odds, or longer shots or sleepers that I'm taking. They're right around break even, or right around even. And then top 20, now we have Harry Hall, plus 170. And then one that's a little higher with Minwoo Lee at plus 320. I didn't think he'd be that high of an odd to make the top 20. But I also have no idea what to expect from him at this point. I just feel like this could be one where he plays well enough that he cracks that, and not a bad payout for plus 320. And then top 10, we have a live golfer taking Jon Rahm at plus 100. Obviously, money is there for the taking if he does. Everyone else is seeming to feel like he belongs in that top 10. So how much I bet on it, I don't know. You'll see on Instagram or on Twitter how many units end up being put on him, but he's the only one I'm taking in the top 10. Everything else is 2 with the top 40s, 30s, and 20s. And yeah, Rahm with the top 10 finish. And just a little on the clock segment, I am glad football's back. Just like everyone else, you all know that I am a baseball fan, so I do track my team and others. I will certainly watch games 80 through 105 that to most people are meaningless, and it is during the quote-unquote dead months of the year for sports. But I am a big baseball fan. I can watch some of the good ones, but unfortunately I'm stuck watching one of the poorly run ones, and I don't think I'm being completely biased when I mention the Washington Nationals, but I also don't think what I think or say here is too far off the national narrative anyway. Owners that are ready to give it up, and the other half owners that are trying to make something happen, but it's just a mesh of mess. I can't do it. So I am glad that college football's back, NFL's back. Hopefully you guys are making money off that. If you're going to bet with me this week, let's do this. Let's hope that we can continue to get this bankroll back well over 1,000. But that'll do it for this episode of Podcast and Regulation. Guys, good luck. If you are fading me, good luck to you. No hard feelings. If you're playing and you're running alongside with me, hey, I'll be right there with you watching all the college football, as well as having these on probably the main TV, especially the Kroger Queen City. As always, follow me on follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Pod in Regulation. And Podcast in Regulation is the Facebook fan page. Should you want to reach out, which sometimes happens, podcastinregulation@gmail.com. Guys, have a great weekend, or have a great 4-day tournament, doing whatever, along with your football. I'm RP. I will talk to you and see you guys next week. Later.